it a replay of this. Okay. So when I put this training on, I didn't even realize that it was the day of the solar eclipse, and it's in progress as we speak. And so I thought, wow, isn't this amazing how the universe conspires? So this is really a great new beginning and also a day of ending. So what better than to rewrite our old story? Hi, Lori. Nice to meet you. Beautiful. So what a great, you can turn on your, if you want, you can turn on your video. You don't have to. So whatever makes you feel comfortable, right? But going back to this, I was going to say, you know, how awesome that we're doing this on the day of the eclipse when it's really closing one chapter and opening a new one for all of us. So I want you to think about what are some of the things that you want to let go of in terms of your old story, in terms of things that do not serve you anymore, as we're going through this class today. And how would you, what is the new thing that you want to bring into your life? And I think it's really appropriate that we're doing this on this day. So I, without any further ado, want to get started. You can put some stuff in the chat if you want. If you have questions, the chat will be saved and I will be answering all these questions. I'm just super excited to see you all here. And I wanted to start off with something that I think is a really beautiful thing. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Course in Miracles. I happen to have it right here. And there is one piece in the Course in Miracles that I really, really enjoy. And it has to do with telling us who we truly are, because sometimes we forget and we make ourselves smaller, and that's when we settle, right? And so since this training is all about rewriting our new story, I thought let's start off with this quote from the Course in Miracles. It says, "The truth about you," and listen closely, "the truth about you is so lofty that nothing unworthy of God is worthy of you." Let that sink in. And you know, whatever you believe in, you know, you can say source, you can say energy, universe. I just happen to have to call him God, right? So, and in the Course in Miracles, it says God too. So the truth about you is so lofty that nothing unworthy of God is worthy of you. And it goes on, it says, "Choose then what you want in these terms and accept nothing that you would not offer to God as wholly fitting for you." Wow, isn't this something, right? Choose then what you want in these terms and accept nothing that you would not offer to God as wholly fitting for him. Because you don't want something else, it says. So that means that even though we might have been conditioned by society, by our upbringing, to settle for less, to accept less than, we have every right to go for what we truly desire, for that new story, because guess who placed that desire into your heart in the first place? It's your source, right? And it placed that seedling inside of you so that you put water on it and let it grow. Because here's the truth of it. The source that gave you this desire is seeking to express himself with and through you. So all the talents and gifts that you have been bestowed upon, they're meant to be shared with other people so you can uplift them, so you can inspire them. I know we have people on here that are coaches. We have people on here that write books. Whatever your gift is, it's not just meant to be benefiting you. It is actually, you've been given and bestowed that gift so that you can benefit other people, that you can share it with the world. You know, some people have big missions, and sometimes these missions can scare us because, you know, inevitably the story comes up, who am I to do this? Well, let me ask you this. Who are you not? You've been given desire. You've been chosen to do this. You've been given the mandate. Who are you to say no because of some insecurities, right? And we all have them, but that's the work that we have to work through. And this is what this training intends to do, so that you can see yourself in all your glory of who you really are and rewrite that story. Because when we come here, you know, when we're first born, everything is open to us. We are, you know, we don't have a concept of what is okay to do and what is not okay to do, how loud we can be, how much we can say, and how curious we can be, and how advantageous we can be. But then we get educated on that. We get educated by our parents. We get educated in kindergarten, in school, throughout the course of our life, in our work. And that's when we squeeze ourselves into a little box of conformity so that we can be appreciated, validated, and loved by our environment. When you wake up to your desire, when that seedling sprouts inside of you, you're realizing the box is too small, right? And that you're meant to come out of it and express yourself as who you truly are, the magnificent being with the beautiful gifts and talents that you have been bestowed upon. And that's when you take a peek outside that box and you see, wow, there's a whole world out there that is ready to be explored. And sometimes that can be scary, right? Because we venture outside of our comfort zone. So today, what I want to share with you are 3 things. I want to help you how to figure out how to excavate your old story and how to rewrite your powerful new narrative that lines up with the vision that you have for yourself, right? And then I want to show you how you can embody that new narrative into your everyday life, starting right now, because there's no time to waste, frankly, to close the gap between where you are today and where you say you want to be, you know, at the end of your vision, when you are doing the powerful retreats with your clients, when you are the accomplished author that signs the books, right? And when you have reading circles, whatever it is for you. But we have to start today, because that is the bridge that closes the gap from where you are to where you want to be. And that is something that speeds up your manifestation. So somebody else is joining. And we're going to admit Lenya is here. Hi, Lenya. Hello, hello. So we're just getting ready to dive in. I just shared what we're going to cover: how to excavate your old story, how to rewrite a powerful new narrative, and how to embody your new story. And I wanted to say it's absolutely 100% okay to want more out of life. You're not taking up too much space. You're not taking anything away from anybody, because there is more than enough for everybody in this universe. And nobody is served with you making yourself small, because once again, what I said, your desire, the things that you want to achieve in life, the things that you want to birth, the vision that you have, that is the divine seeking expression with and through you. And who are you to say no? And you know, when I first learned this, it took me a while to absorb it, right? But what my mentor actually said to me, he said, Simona, you're already pre-approved. You don't need approval from anybody else. You are pre-approved by your source to do this. It doesn't matter what other people are going to have to say or think about it. You are pre-approved. And how could you ever want more than that approval? And then go in and pursue that dream and pursue that vision, wearing that armor of your source, who has bestowed these gifts upon you and who has bestowed the desire, or put that seedling of desire inside of you. But here's what happens, right? What gets in the way when we have a big desire, we might even get excited about it at first. We're like, oh my God, yeah, I want to write this book. Yes, I want to host these retreats. Yes, I want to, speak on stages, whatever it is for you. Yes, I want to be in this executive position. Whatever it is, get excited. And then after a moment of being excited, what happens is that our subconscious mind gets in the way. And we have to understand that our subconscious mind is the way more powerful part of the mind. It's in charge of all of our bodily functions. It stores every memory that you've ever had, every experience that you've ever had, all your beliefs, your values, your attitudes, everything. It's like a ginormous computer inside of you. And its number one program is to keep you safe and alive, to ensure, basically, this is the species, to the continuation of our species, right? But It's also wired in a certain way by way of what you've been taught when you were little, right? Anything, because get this, our conscious mind allows us to accept or reject something, right? But prior to the age of 7, we don't have that ability because the conscious mind is not fully formed. So anything that you heard and learned prior to the age of 7 just gets accepted into your subconscious mind and then forms a belief, an attitude, a value system. And anytime you step outside of what is the norm for this value or belief system, your comfort zone, that is when you come up against a resistance. So I just want to ask that we turn off. I'm going to just mute everybody so that we have a clean recording, and then I'm going to turn it back on for our Q&A, of course. So really important to understand how the subconscious mind works. It lets you go outside of your comfort zone up to a certain degree, but when it feels a threat, when it thinks, hey, we should not let that person go this far because this could be potentially dangerous, it puts on the brakes. And that starts slowly, first with doubts, right? You're questioning things. From doubt comes confusion, then there could be worry, and then it could turn into full-blown fear. And one of the things that it also puts forth, because it is really clever, it will get you to stop if you're not vigilant, right? Because it will dish up and serve up story after story after story until you say, you know what, that's it. You're right, I'm quitting, right? Because then it can bring you back to your safe place, or what it presumes is your safe place. But if we do that, we never grow. So what are these stories? Oh, I'm not good enough. It's not perfect enough just yet. Who am I to do this? I should be content with what I have and not want more. What if it doesn't work and I become a public failure? What if I'm being ridiculed? What are my loved ones going to say about this if I do this, right? Start thinking about the dialogue in your own mind that just keeps going off like a ping pong ball, right? And you'll become aware of the story. And this is what holds most people back, because these stories are very cleverly designed and very unique to each and every one of you to get you to do one thing, to not pursue the goal, to not pursue the vision, and to agree to stop. Because when we're not vigilant, at some point we agree, like something happens and it doesn't turn out the way, for instance, my story used to be, if I worked really hard for something and then it didn't get the results that I wanted, I stopped, because it must not be in the cards for me, right? I worked so hard and I still didn't get the promotion, so why bother, right? But that is just a story. And sometimes, like I said, these stories come layered on top of each other, and things happen in your life that play into your story, where you finally say, you know what? One thing after another, after another, after another, this must not be for me, I quit. So subconscious mind wins, you lose. And that's when we have to consciously use our discernment and interrupt this pattern that is keeping us from moving forward with what we want to be, do, or have in life. So guilt, for instance, is one of our stories, and it is a powerful story and also the most useless emotions we can ever have. We feel guilty about what somebody else might have to say or think about when we pursue our dream. Let me ask you this. Can you influence that? Can you truly influence what another person is saying or thinking about you? I think not. The only thing that we can influence is how we react, right? And when we go back to where the desire came from, that it was placed inside of us by our divine source and that we are pre-approved, then do we really care about the judgment of other people? And by the way, the judgment of other people is just has nothing to do with you, but it is a reflection of what's going on inside of them. Because maybe, just maybe, by you taking the steps and pursuing your dream, they see that they could do more with their life, and that scares them, right? Because they don't have the chops that you have. Maybe because they get scared, it's easier for them to point the finger at you than to say, wow, I am so proud of you that you made that decision to actually go down that route, to actually do something with your life, right? There's never a reason for us to feel guilty about. And yet it's one of the most prevalent emotions that come up. Another one is shame, right? And shame and guilt is kind of a perpetual condemnation. You can't win unless you forgive yourself and you know that you have been forgiven by your source. So let's look at your personal stories that you tell yourself and bring them to the light of your consciousness. Because when we become consciously aware of something, we can change it. What is it? And I want you to write this down. What are some of the things that you constantly tell yourself when it's time to step into your next chapter? You know, sometimes that stuff starts with, I'd love to, but I can't because. Or now is not a good time because. And anything that comes after the because is your story. And that is the story that comes to the surface that you tell others. But behind there's something much more deeper going on that you don't share with anybody, that you keep to yourself as a tightly guarded secret. And that's okay. You don't have to share it here too. I just want you to bring it to your conscious awareness. And if you feel called to share, you can share it in the chat or you can share it in the Q&A. But this is just an exercise in becoming aware of what is going on. So I want you to take the next 3 minutes to write down the stories you tell yourself that hold you back from stepping into your next chapter or pursuing the thing that you want to level up and create that truly amazing life that you are dreaming about. And again, if you want to share in the chat, please feel free to do so. And this is an exercise that you start here right now, but that you're going to continue, you know, after we finish this class. So just start writing down what are some of the things that are coming to mind for you. Awareness is the first step to change. And if you feel like it, you can write it in the chat. You know, sometimes it's good to be seen by others and witnessed by others. And this is a really safe environment. I know most of you, and I know you're a group of really loving people. And plus, you know, this is not going to be shared. So whatever is coming up for you, write it down. And as you write it down, you're beginning to excavate the story that is holding you back. And today is an amazing day to release it and to let it go, because it is the solar eclipse. So you can just hand it over to your source, to the universe, and just say, you know what? I'm done with that. That was my story, and it doesn't have to be my story anymore, because I'm going to spread my wings and I'm going to soar to new personal and professional heights. And so one of the things that I want you to do is to ceremoniously let it go. So you started writing down that story right here, right now. Finish it after class, and then roll up that piece of paper that you wrote it on and ceremoniously burn it to let it go. Obviously, safely. So I used to do this. I have a terrace here, so I used to do this with a big pot and would just put the paper in there and light it and have my water hose right next to me so that I could extinguish the fire. But it's really good to scatter the ashes, you know, like wherever you want, in earth or in the water. Like I have the water a block and a half away from me, the ocean. So I would typically go and put the ashes in the water and just let it go ceremoniously, you know, just let it go because it's not serving me anymore. And when you do that, then you can rewrite your new story, because that old story is based on conditioning, programming, especially the last 3 years, we were told so much by societal programming and conditioning, what we can and can't do, what we can and can't say, how we have to be. And, I want you, don't have to believe me, but believe yourself. When you close your eyes and put your hand on your heart and you ask yourself a question, what is really true? Your truth will come up. So you don't need anybody else for that. So how does everybody feel about that? Looking at your story, do you want to share? I often feel like I'm not smart enough, or that others would be more skilled than me. Is that the truth? Sometimes when we compare when we compare ourselves to others, it's really self-defeating. So how about if you were to focus on your strength, the things that you're really good at, all the things that you've accomplished in your life, the big wins that you've had. And the beginning of your new story is, I am more than smart enough. I am the one that is skilled. So, and this is a perfect segue. Thank you so much for sharing this. This is a perfect segue. So now that you have unearthed not being smart enough, or that others would be more skilled than you, let's rewrite that new story, because it is, as you might have guessed, the complete opposite of what your limiting story is. Take a moment to bring up your vision for what it is you want next for you. And you might just have to close your eyes and put your hand on your heart and just take a moment and bring that up. What is it that you really want next for you? What is it that you want to do with the rest of your life? What is it that you want so deeply with all your heart? And then bring up the visuals of that. And more importantly, bring up the feeling. What does that feel like when you live in that new life, when you live in that new vision? What does that feel like? And it is from that place that I want you to begin writing your new story. As you bring up these feelings, and I'm sure they're feelings of courage, of inspiration, of empowerment, of being confident, of being joyful, because you get to do what you love with people that you love. You get to make your mark in the world. You get to share with other people. So when you bring up these feelings, start writing down your new story. It's time to expose the woman or man who is living in that vision, that beautiful diamond in the rough that has been hiding so long because you've stuffed her down or him down. It's time to bring them out into the spotlight, to shine your light for all to see, standing empowered in your mandate and wearing the full armor of that source love that has pre-approved you. So it's time to get acquainted with who you really are and get to know yourself. So start writing down who you really are and fall in love with yourself, with your beautiful essence, with your talents, with your gifts, and the things that make your heart sing. And it's really important that you bring up the feelings and that you do see yourself in this beautiful light with all the qualities that you have, the shining star that you are in the world, the contributions that you make. And we make contributions to the people around us, right? It doesn't matter if we're already an accomplished author or not, or if we're already the retreat host or whatever it is for you, right? You make a contribution just by shining your light and sharing your gifts with others. And you can do that in a very small environment right now. With the people that you have that are closest to you, with the people in your workplace, just be fully expressed as who you are. And the idea is that woman, that man is already inside of you, that woman that lives in that vision, that man that lives in that vision, right? It's just you are becoming her by embodying these qualities that she has, right? And it starts with feeling to it and really feeling how good it feels in your body when you're empowered, when you are courageous, when you stand at the podium and speak, when you hold that book that you wrote in your hand and you sign it, right? What does that feel like? I want you to get into this and write down who that person is. What is that new story for you? I'm going to take a few minutes to do that. This is basically you being fully expressed outside of the box that we've all squeezed ourselves into at some point to receive, love, appreciation, and validation. But there's a whole big world outside, and you are so much bigger than what fits into the box. And you're all here for a reason, because you have that seedling inside of you. That's why you felt called to attend this training call. So I'm going to give you a few more minutes. It's too late. I'm too old to start something new. What are we changing that story to right now, at this moment? You know what? I'm going to share something with you guys. I have a client. I met her when she was 60. You know how we met? We met on a plane. Her name's Kelly. She's amazing. And when I met her, I was en route to Los Angeles. She got on the plane in Phoenix, and I was really tired, and I didn't want to talk. And something inside of me told me, you got to talk to this lady. So this lady, a year later, Kelly, became my client at 61. And she told me that she's an expert in something that's very unique and specific. So she's an expert in a specific bird species, and she wanted to contribute. She wanted to write a book. She wanted to speak in academic circles, but because she didn't have a degree in this, she didn't think she could do it. So at age 64, my client Kelly is now a published author, critically acclaimed, and she is speaking. She just recently did a lecture at Texas A&M University, speaking to scientists that she didn't even think that she would ever have a chance to meet at 64. I have another client who came to me at age 65. She's an architect, and she has a very specific she's very green, right? And so she wants to build sustainable living spaces, and she's doing it. Nobody is ever too old. It's never too late, because if it were too late, we wouldn't be here anymore. We would not be here anymore. We wake up every morning. That means God is not done with us. Source is not done with us. We still have a purpose, right? So if there is something that you carry on the inside, this is your calling to rewrite that story. I am starting something new. This is a great time for me to start something new. This is the best time, because guess what? This is the time when I'm ready, because prior to now, I was not ready, right? Okay, so there is another comment. Women over 40 have more to give to society because the early societal expectations have been fulfilled or transcended. Family, children, career. First, yes, right? And so over 40, it's like you're probably an empty nest if you have children. I don't have, but my transformation started because I got divorced at age 40, and that was a devastating event in my life, which took me a while to overcome. But yeah, we have already, like you said, we have already fulfilled the early societal expectations. So now we can draw from the wisdom, and there's an awakening that happens with women over 40 and with women over 50. To give something, because we are not done. So it's not too late. Anytime that you have still something inside of you, it's not too late. You're meant to be pursuing that. You're meant to be pursuing it with all your heart. And it doesn't matter if you're 60, if you're 70, as long as you have a breath inside of you, you're meant to be pursuing that, because your source is not done with you yet. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't wake up. Okay. So so those are really great examples of stories. It's too late. I'm not smart enough. There's other people that are more skilled than me. That's the story to rewrite. So this is really good because you're getting acquainted with what you've been telling yourself. And now you can change it. So write down, who is this woman that knows right now is the right time because I'm in my prime. I've accumulated so much wisdom. I've experienced so much in my life that now I'm ready to tell the story. I have overcome so much. I've witnessed so much. Now I can tell my story, and in telling my story, I can inspire others who might be going through a really rough time right now. So you have a mandate, and right now is the right time, because guess what? The only time we ever have is right now, this moment, because we don't know if we're going to wake up tomorrow. We're going to know what's going to happen 2 weeks from now, next year, next month. We don't know. We could not wake up. So right now is when it matters that you make a decision to pursue whatever it is that is calling you. And all of you have a calling, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. So how does that feel to you? There's a new message. Let's see. Let me check the chat. Where do I see this? Not enough mentality. It spills over to many areas in our lives and takes you to be on survival mode. Not enough mentality. What do you mean by that, Lenya? Not enough mentality spills over to many. So is it a mindset piece? Because yes, the mindset will affect all areas of your life, not just professional, but personal, finances, everything. So the idea is, yes, I'm 51 and I'm interviewing for an entry-level job. Since I don't have, oh, let me just see. Let me just see if I can pull this down. Sorry, you guys, there's, okay. Can you rewrite that in the chat? Because, hold on one second. I'm going to pull up the chat real big. And I'm going to look at the chat really big. Okay. Lack. Okay. So instead of lack, what would you need to rewrite in your story? Abundance, right? So what does that story look like for you when it's abundant? When you are a victor and not a victim? What does that look and feel like? That's the story to rewrite for you. So now I have it here. I'm 51 and I'm interviewing for an entry-level job since I don't have the training for what I want to do. But I have great health, insurance benefits that I need in a job that I do well at. So could you rewrite the story of getting the skills that you need for the job that you really want to have while you're getting your needs met in this entry-level job, while you have your basic, paycheck taken care of, your health benefits taken care of? Who is the woman that gets the skills for the job that she really wants to do? That's the story to rewrite. Okay. So you see how this is kind of coming about? And this is probably going to take a while for you and require that you sit down after this class and really think about what you shared here and how does that look different in your new story? How are you the empowered woman that knows this is the right time for me? I am at my best right now. I have so much wisdom to share. I am going for the skills that I need to really do that job. And I'm so grateful that I have a job right now that pays for my bills and that pays for my rent and that pays for my mortgage, where I can actually go out and acquire these additional skills, and then I can apply for the job that I really want. So those are the stories. And what's the mindset that I would have to cultivate? If I'm in lack right now, what does it look like when things are abundant? How would I have to tell my story? How would I need to control my thoughts? How would I shift them into abundance? How would I shift my words into abundance? Like, for instance, when you walk out the door, every time you see something in nature, can you remind yourself that you're surrounded by abundance, right? So mindset is conscious training the muscle of the brain to, when you blurt out something that is a lack word, that you correct it and you say, cancel, clear, delete. I choose to speak differently. I choose to think differently. I choose to be abundance minded. I'm ready to thrive, not just survive. That is beautiful, Julie. I love that. I'm ready to thrive, not just to survive. What does that look like? What is that story? How do you see yourself thriving? Write it down. Write it down. That's beautiful. What does it look like when you are thriving in life? Okay, you need a job that I do well, but it's basically two people's jobs and killing me for little pay. Okay, so gratitude is really a big deal. Let's be grateful for what we have and then make a decision. I'm going to go out and get those skills to get that better paying job, right? The job that I really want. And in the meantime, I'm grateful that there's income coming, right? So that's how you rewrite that story. So I want to take you through, now that you see, I want to encourage you to continue this exercise of rewriting your story. Once we finish here today, and really give it some deep thought and look at where the lack is and how can you choose to create a different sentiment, a sentiment of abundance, a sentiment of being joyful in the job that you love, because that's really what your passion is. Continue to write that story. And then it's all about embodying your story. And because the new narrative is not something that's far off in the distance, right? That you have to run after to get. This is all about embodying your story right now in your everyday life, because that is the bridge that closes the gap between where you are today and where you see yourself in your vision. And this is the work, and it's the inner work. It's walking as if, if you are present, you walk in the grocery stores, you go through the aisles. How does she walk? She that already lives in that vision, she that already has that amazing job that is well paid, that she loves. How do you walk? How do you walk through the aisle? Act as if. Can you do that? Can you feel your way through what that feels like? And of course, life gets in the way. We're busy. We've got stuff going on. But if you can remind yourself a bunch of times throughout your day, when you walk down the street, when you walk down the aisle at the grocery store, let me walk as if. Let me walk embodying my narrative. How am I walking? What does that feel like? I am confident. I am courageous. I'm just throwing some stuff out there. You do you, right? You put yours in there. I am secure. What does it feel like when I have a lot of money in my bank account? How would I walk? Would I be stressed or would I be calm, right? What does it feel like when I have peace of mind? How do I walk? What does it feel like when I have snagged that job that is so exciting to me? How do I walk? And you can walk through the office right now as that. I remember, I want to share this with you just so you can see this. When I first started working with my mentor, I worked with him in a half day intensive, which was a VIP day. And I'm going to share the number with you because to me it was outrageous. I'd never spent this much money in my entire life, and I could have done, I could have bought a car. It was $20,000 for 4 hours of this man's time, and money well spent, by the way. But I remember sitting in my office at Sony Pictures, and I had just wired the money from an account. And I was shaking and shaking and shaking and shaking. And then I went down, it was lunchtime, and I went down to the cantina. So I had to go down from the 7th floor in the elevator to the cantina. And I stepped into that elevator as the woman who had just invested at this level in herself, as this confident woman who completely believed that this man could help her to make that vision come true that I had. And my vision at the time was to move from Los Angeles to Mexico. And let me tell you, as I was walking through the lunch line and saying hi to colleagues, I'm like, if they only knew I am walking as this woman. And then I had my lunch and I went into the next meeting and I sat there as the woman who had just done this and who was certain that she would follow her dream and she would move to Mexico. And they didn't know that in the meeting. And I let that sink in. I'm already there. I'm doing this. This is it. I've done it. It's done, right? It is so empowering, you guys, even though it was a scary moment for me because it was a lot of money, but it is so empowering. So you can do this every single day and you can walk as if, pretend as if, and even if you only do it for 5 minutes a day, you know what the mind does? It learns by repetition. And here's another thing about the subconscious mind that I haven't shared with you. We can use this to our advantage. The subconscious mind doesn't know how to distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. So walking as if, acting as if, feeling our way through the day as if, it accepts it. And it has to turn over to reality anything that it accepts. Like all your lack has been accepted by the subconscious mind at some point. So that's what is currently presenting itself in your reality, right? Same way you can reprogram it. You can reprogram it for abundance, for what you do want to experience. And there's a process that you can do this on your own. It's like reps, right? Going to the gym. You don't become a bodybuilder overnight. You have to go for a few months and you have to work out and you have to do your reps. So start with a morning routine. Pray, if that's your thing, pray. Meditate on living in your new story, really experiencing it, bringing up the feelings of how does it feel in your body, and sit with it. Just sit with it. And you can do this. Start with 5 minutes, go to 10, go to 20. There's great meditations out there like Dr. Joe Dispenza. You know, he has a couple of them that one is called Tuning into New Potentials. I highly recommend it, where you can tune into your potentials and just start embodying that. And then comes the work. Once you get up from your meditation, once you get up from your prayer, throughout your day, remind yourself to walk and act as if. There's a story that my mentor used to tell me. He was a forklift driver. And at the time when he was a forklift driver, he wanted to have a boat. That's what he was aspiring to, a house, a boat, and I think a vacation, but definitely a boat. So as he was driving the forklift, he was envisioning himself driving the motorboat. He got it eventually, but you can do this in very, very small ways. That's the muscle that you're building. It's not going to happen overnight. But if you stay consistent with it every single day, especially when your environment reflects something entirely different, eventually it will become your reality. There's a process that I use with my clients that is based in neuroscience, where we actually install this new way of living into your subconscious mind. Because here's what is at the root of your story. It doesn't come from just anywhere. It comes from what you've experienced, what you've been taught, and what you have accepted as a belief. So this is deep underneath in your subconscious mind. There is something that you were taught as a little girl, as a little boy, by well-meaning parents or caretakers about what is possible for you and how you are supposed to express yourself in order to be loved, accepted, and valued by your environment. And you know why this is so important to understand? Because when we were little babies, our livelihood, our security, and our safety depended on who? On our mom, right? So we needed mom to be there to feed us, to clothe us, to keep us warm and safe. So anytime that we noticed that mom would get annoyed with something that we did and took her presence away or took her love away, we adapted, right? We started a pattern where we began to adapt our full expression from who we were to appease and please the mother. And that's where the pattern starts, right? It starts there. And then that happens again in school, to fit in kindergarten, to fit in high school. You have to adapt to certain rules, regulations, norms, guidelines. But what if that is not you? So you start going down, 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 and you accept that this is the way it has to be. And then you form a belief. And that belief is creating the story. So what must be transformed along with rewriting the story is the belief that is the underlying root cause. And I can tell you, one of the beliefs that I had was, I wasn't even aware of my story because it was so deeply hidden in my subconscious mind. But how it manifested itself was that I was terrified of speaking in public. So when it started in high school, right? When I was doing a book report, I could not look at people. I would just be like this and, just pray that it'd be over in 5 minutes and that nobody looked at me and that I could just leave, the front of the classroom. And then I realized as I was working on myself, the real root cause was that I had a belief it's not safe to be seen. Now, as a business owner, that is a detrimental, and you are like dead on arrival, right? If you have a belief that it's not safe to be seen. But then I uncovered why that was. And what you probably don't know about me is, unless you've been following me for a while, is that I grew up in a physically abusive household. So my mom married a man that was an alcoholic and he was physically abusive, and you would never see it coming, but you'd just get hit, So the best thing for me as a child to do was to not be seen. And that became a coping mechanism. And then it, throughout my adult life, I was ducking down. I wasn't going to be seen. Like, I still have moments when when a male raises their voice, that something inside of me goes for a moment is an anticipation of, violence. It's a work in progress. But I remember when I became consciously aware of it, I was doing a facilitator training to become certified in a modality that I now use with my clients, where we transform beliefs, where we literally rewrite the software in our minds, right? And it was so fascinating. My new belief that I wanted to adopt, because I had a speaking engagement coming up, was that I'm an excellent public speaker, which was not true at all. So they took me through the process. And then I had to put it into action. So I had already lined up the speaking engagement. I had 26 people in the audience. And typically, if you had known me before, I would like break out in sweat. I had frog in my throat. And I would be like this, just like, please get me out of here as fast as possible. And sometimes even feel like I would faint. Of course, with a history like that, then it's not safe to be seen. It's very understandable, right? So I did this talk after this transformation, after I changed my belief, and I had 26 people. Nobody knew that this was my first ever talk. I was able to look at people. I was able to engage them. And it was a mindset talk. It was about a similar topic that we're discussing today. And at the end of the talk, this woman stands up, introduces herself, and she says, "Hey, did I hear you were a marketing executive at a studio in Hollywood? I need a marketing consultant." And she hired me for a year. So not only did I overcome my fear of speaking in public, but I reinforced it with a beautiful new experience that, wow, I actually was successful at this. And I got a client, and I was able to help her in her brick and mortar business. So that was a really, really awesome way to learn that, hey, when you change, when you rewrite, when you transform your belief, and when you rewrite the software of your mind, that's when you can really get different results, right? Because if you don't attack the root cause, then that story is always going to come back. And even though you try to do it on your own, it can feel like swimming upstream or fighting windmills, because the subconscious is really powerful. And when it is threatened, when it believes that, like in my case, it's not safe to be seen, it'll do anything to stop you from doing it, unless you take it by the hand and you say, hey, thank you so much for protecting me all these years. Now this is no longer serving me for where I intend to go. I actually need to be visible. I need to be seen. I need to let people know that I'm here and that they can work with me, and that, that I can help, right? So let me take you by the hand and let's harmonize my conscious desire of what I really want and your desire to protect me. And this is a beautiful process that I take my clients through. And just recently, there was a woman that came to visit me here for an intensive. Let's call her Sabrina, because she's still in a corporate situation where she is not fully, she can't leave just yet. So, but she's on her way. But she came here because she has a really big vision, and her vision, I kid you not, is going to impact millions of people in a really positive, uplifting way. And she is laying the foundation right now for this. And so she got this calling. She is actually a believer, and she got this calling, and she came. She was unsure she heard the mandate correctly, and she wanted clarity around that. So it turned out her story was that she was terrible with making decisions. So she would never move forward with anything and always abandon projects. And because this project is extraordinarily big, and she is conscious of the magnitude of it, she didn't want that to fall in the same category. So underneath all of that was the belief that she would make the wrong decision and that would have terrible consequences. So we transformed that belief in 15 minutes once we, excavated it. And I'll never forget, she sat on my couch right here, right behind me. And I said to her, you have to take an action step now, because when you transform a belief, you create potential on the subconscious level. But when you don't use that potential, nothing is going to happen, right? So results happen because we take action. So I said, take an action step, big or small, doesn't matter, just something to get the ball rolling. And so she sent a text message to a person who had offered to introduce her to a prominent person. So she sent that text message, and it led to, it started snowballing. So the introduction was made. Once the introduction was made and that meeting was on the calendar, she realized that her big 60-day goal needed to get done yesterday. So she achieved it in 2 weeks. And within less than 60 days, she found herself in a room of really prominent people, rubbing elbows with decision makers in the industry that she is going to revolutionize, and has commitments from these people to be part of her venture. So now there's no more going back. This is snowballing forward. It's an avalanche that has happened for her, and it's all because she transformed her belief. And she said to me, she said, I got what I wanted out of this intensive with you. And I realize this is the mandate that I have, and I have to fulfill it. This is my life's legacy. And how beautiful when somebody can have that clarity and can step into it and say, even though this is scary because I've never done it before, I step in faith and in trust, and all the puzzle pieces are moving. Everything's coming together. It's going to be a project that is done in phases. It's going to go over a few years, but I mean, she is rubbing elbows with people of influence that are decision makers in this industry, and they have pledged support, which she didn't even know them 2 months ago. So it's really amazing what happens. I just want to share this with you so that you can see how powerful this work is. Leading up to this class, I had talked about Amy, who is a former client of mine, who is a really beautiful, heart-centered realtor, and she wants the best for her clients. She goes above and beyond to help them find the new sanctuary. And she came and she said, you know, I haven't made any sales in 5 months. And within a week of us working together in a 90-minute session, she sold 5 properties, and she sent me an email, and I was floored and she was floored. But what happened was Amy had a belief that it was not okay for her to want more, that it was not okay to have expensive desires, because nobody in her family had more than her, right? And nobody in her family had those desires, and it was not okay because you would be looked at as the odd one out. But when she transformed that and became at ease with, hey, it's quite okay to have these expensive desires as long as I can pay for them, then she showed up as that woman. And then she started putting deals together that were much bigger. And because of the way she showed up, things started collapsing and those sales came in. And that was a really nice, really, really nice recognition for her, and a really, really awesome influx of cash flow into her bank account. But this is not just about money, you know, this is about self-esteem, recognition. You know, Kelly, I told you she's a published author now and she's 64. And how this came about was truly out of the blue. She mentioned in a coaching session that there is an opportunity for her to go to a conference. And I said, well, you should be speaking on the panel there. And she goes, oh no, I could never do that because, you know, I don't have a degree and I'm not good enough. And what if they ridicule me? So we worked on this a little bit. We changed her belief. And so I coached her into going. She applied, she got the nomination to speak on the panel. And she was so hesitant to go. She really didn't want to go. And then she calls me, she goes, you never know what happened. Not only was I well received, they looked at me as their peer and they welcomed my speech and they loved it and they recognized me for it. But after that, they invited me to become a contributing author to a scientific book, which is now published by the University of Arizona Press. And there's critically acclaimed reviews that go with it from, you know, people that are recognized in the industry that she's in. And so she did this because she transformed her belief of not being good enough, not being perfect enough. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful things can happen when you do that, when you transform the belief that is at the root of the story. And let me tell you, that change does not take a long time. It can happen really fast. When you eliminate the underlying root cause of your old story and live your new narrative, demonstrating with your actions every single day, right? Because in the case of Sabrina, that one action step that she took, texting, you know, making that connection, it started snowballing into other things. Now, let me ask you, how would your life be different if you could transform the one belief that is at the root cause of your story? How would that be different? I want you to put that in the chat, how you believe your life would be different. And let me just look at the chat right here. Yeah, it's true. Transformation often happens only with a mentor and coach who sees you in a new and different light. We all have a blind spot, everybody, including myself, right? We all do that. So how do you think your life would be different if you could transform that belief? Like for me, it was night and day. You know, once I knew I could speak in public, it just opened doors. It was awesome. So if this is something that resonates with you, I'd love to invite you to join me for a 30-day private intensive where we work together virtually, one-on-one, just you and me, to transform that one belief that you have and anchor in your new story while creating an action plan that you can implement immediately to get the snowball rolling, just like Sabrina did. It doesn't take long. It starts with a 2-hour deep dive where we transform your belief, we uncover it, we transform it, and we create the action plan that is ready to implement. Then there are 2 more full 60-minute sessions with me throughout the 30 days and unlimited voicemail support via WhatsApp voicemail. Plus, because sometimes stuff comes up in between sessions and I don't want you to sit on it. I want you to just send me a voice message and say, hey, Simona, this is coming up. Let's solve this, right? Because why wait? we don't have time. So I'm also adding a couple of great bonuses. I have a little program that my clients love, and it's called 30 Days to Create Successful Habits. It's entirely free if you join me in this intensive, and it gives you 30 prompts every day for 30 days to set your day up for success. Plus a workshop that uncovers how to unlock your blind spots and discover your stopping strategy and make it your winning strategy going forward. That's a $97 workshop that my clients find really, really interesting and has helped them a lot, because we all have these blind spots and they hold us back, right? But when we discover where they're coming from, we can change them. So I want to gift that to you if you join me. That's a total value of over $600. And now you're probably all wondering, well, what's the investment? What's the investment for this 30-day breakthrough intensive? Well, regularly, let me tell you, the investment for this program is $2,000. Today, it is yours for a one-time payment of $997. So that's just over $1,000 in savings if you are a fast action taker. I will drop the link into the chat, and you will also receive an email that is going out with the replay of this training. I wanted to offer this to you because it's one thing to uncover your story, another thing to rewrite it, but to permanently change it, there is a deeper level of work involved if you want it fast. You can, if you want to work on it for much more time and do it on your own, you can do this with the process that I've outlined. But if you want fast results, then join me in this. Like I said, with Amy, it was after the 90-minute session, she sold 5 properties, and she hadn't sold anything in the 5 months prior. So that was an immediate and miraculous change that manifested in her life. With Kelly, the fact that she got the book deal after she didn't want to go after one session, that shows you. With me personally, getting a year-long client out of a public speaking event that I didn't think I could do, change really doesn't need to take a long time, but it takes rewriting the program, rewriting that software. So if you know that you want to transform something big in your life or business, this is your opportunity to work with me at an unprecedented investment. Like I said, while we are on the Q&A, I will drop the link in the chat, and then you'll also get an email where you can look at it. If you have questions, you can reach out to me at simona@simonaxol.com. You can just reply to the email. I've never offered this at this price. It's always been either $2,000 or $1,500. I wanted to make you an offer that is really generous, given everything that's going on in the world. And if you take action on this, you will get a result. Like Sabrina did, like Amy did, like Kelly did, like I did, and there are many more clients that you can see on the information page that did get a fantastic result. So if this is you, I would welcome you. You can speak with me. I'm gonna just drop the information into the chat so you have it. You can peruse it at your leisure, but it is really, I've never offered it at this investment. So if this is something that's calling you, please, even though it might feel like it's a stretch for you, talk to me. Talk to me. We can make it work if this is something that you really, really want. And it's at this price point until Monday, the 16th at midnight Eastern. So you have 24 hours to think about it. Okay, and if you have questions, I'll be around all weekend. You can reach out to me and we can even hop on a quick call if that is something that you would like. So with that said, we're at the hour. That means the teaching part is over. And I want to open it up for questions. So if anybody has a question, I'm going to stop the recording because I want to make sure we keep this private.